What is up everyone, it's your boy Lucas, and in this video I'm going to be going over the different sites that are going to be dropping the Air Jordan 1 Dark Mochas and how you can set up for each and every one of these sites. And I really hope that you are hyped up about this release, because I know I am. I know that people that are going for these as personals are, and I know people that are going for these for resale value are hyped up. It's a very crazy release, maybe one of the craziest that we have had in a while, and so I hope you are ready. I hope this video will help you get ready. But without further ado, let us get into the setup. So here we have AIOBot, and before we get into the tasks and the ways you're going to set up for the different sites, you want to make sure, especially if you're new, that you have your billing profile set up, right? You want to make sure that you have your proxies list set up as well. You also want to make sure that you go to the settings and you have the latest updates. So you click on check for updates. Here it pops up your bot is up to date. And you want to make sure that when you go to the notifications as well, that you have your Discord webhook added to the bot. If you are not sure about how to do these different steps, I will be leaving a link to the entire AIOBot setup playlist, and it contains all these videos that will help you set up for all these different sections. But in this particular video, we're just going to be focused on how you can set up for the tasks. So the first site that we're going to be going over is Footsights. And if you're familiar with running Footsights on AIOBot, for the past year or two, you've been required to harvest cookies on Footsights. And by harvesting cookies, you used to go here to sensor harvester, or you used to use any sort of external tool to harvest cookies. Well, good news is now that since Footsights have changed their anti-bot security, you are no longer required to do that, to harvest cookies. The one exception is if you are running Footlocker in Canada, you are still required to harvest, but this also may change soon. And for people that are running in Canada, we also have cloud cookies harvested for you. Cloud cookies are cookies harvested by the developers themselves, and they will be automatically applied to your tasks. And you will only need the bot, or your tasks will only be using your harvested cookies that you have over here once the cloud cookies are depleted. And so to jump into the actual task setup now, first of all, you want to go click on add new, and you want to go to the Footsite section, and you're going to want to select between the different sites that you have over here, either Champs, Eastbay, Foot Action, Footlocker, Footlocker Canada, or Kids Footlocker. All of these are going to be releasing the Air Jordan 1 Dark Mochas. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on Footlocker for now. You can leave this as guest for the accounts. You can go here and click on test proxies for the PID. Now, where do you get the PID? Well, you're going to go to Discord. All right, you're going to scroll to the guide, and over here we have the PID. These are the PIDs for all these sites over here, and for Footlocker Canada you have a different PID. For Kids Footlocker only released the GS sizes, so you don't have the men's sizes for that. So I'm just going to go and pick the PID here, and I'm just going to paste it. For the size, so for Footsights, you have two ways of selecting your size. You can either go random. If you're a reseller and you think that all pairs are going to be profitable, random would be the perfect selection for you for tomorrow. But if you're going for personals, or if you feel like specific sizes are going to be doing way better and you feel like you want to go for these instead, then you can select a specific size. So you can go for size 8, for example, or 9.5. What you can't do with Footsights, at least at this moment, is select multiple sizes. So selecting something like 9.5 and 10 is not allowed. So you cannot do that, right? It either has to be a specific size or it has to be random. Now, I'm just going to go random for now. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to select between normal and restock mode. So normal mode is the mode that you're going to want to run at the initial release, right? So when you first start, all your tasks are going to be normal, or maybe most of your tasks are going to be normal. You can still run some restock modes from the very beginning if you want, but you know, honestly, like normal should be fine if you just ran only normal. 20 minutes into the release, you may want to start consider, or even earlier, right? You may want to consider running some restock mode tasks. So the way you can run restock mode tasks is either you actually go in the middle of the release and you actually click on add new and start and actually create new tasks that are restock mode, or you could stop some of the tasks that you've been running that are normal mode. You can stop them and edit them and actually have them put them as restock mode and just carry on. Now, one thing that you need to know about the normal and restock mode is that when you select normal mode, whatever delay you select here, it's not going to apply to your task, right? The delay is a delay that has been selected by the developers, and that's going to be what the delay is going to be used for the normal tasks. But for restock task, it will actually take your task delay into consideration. So if you put 5,000 over here, the bot will take 5 seconds before it actually refreshes again or it pings the site again. And without getting into too much technical detail for that, if you're just starting out and you don't know what delays to use, you could just pretty much go to the guide that we have over here, and you can go to the Footsite setup tips. And if you scroll over here, we already have the delays mentioned. So you could go for something lower, and you could even have some that are on the higher end. And if you're running for restocks, you technically usually want to have more of that on the higher end. And so if we go back over here, you want to select also your billing profiles. Select, I could go for something like 8,500, for example. Select the number of tasks that you want, click save. And my bad, I selected restock mode instead. So just in case you accidentally did that, you could always hold control, drag all over the tasks, and you can go to mass select to task edit, and you can edit a lot of things over here, and including the task mode. So I can select normal instead of restock, I click save, and now everything changes back to task mode of normal, right? And the same thing can be applied for all other things. You can mass edit your proxies, your billing profiles, whatever. Now, something else that you have to note that is actually new due to the changes that Footsights have made is that now you need to have your CAPTCHA solvers ready, right? Before, you didn't actually have to do that, but now with the new changes, you do. So we have to go over here. If you're running on a local IP, which means that you're not using a server, then you can actually have one CAPTCHA solver signed in as a guest, all right? And make sure that once you're here, you go to YouTube and you actually sign in with your credentials. And the credentials that you want to use Gmails that are actually warmed Gmails. And what I mean by warmed Gmails is Gmails that have activity, regular activity on them. So it may be a personal Gmail that you've used for some time. It may be a Gmail that you've been warming on an email warming software such as AYCD, right? So there are different ways that you could do that. If you're just starting out and you don't have warmed Gmails, a personal Gmail should be fine. And so once you have your CAPTCHAs ready, all you have to do is, once you have the YouTube signed in, then you could pretty much select the different CAPTCHAs. So for example, you have tasks set up for all the different sites. So you're going to want to click on East Bay. You're going to want to click on Champs. You're going to want to click on Foot Action, Foot Locker, and Kids Foot Locker. What you could do also is you could actually have different solvers for different sets of sites. So you could have for example, if you wanted to add more solvers, you could add a proxy, your Gmail, your password, and then you can have the proxy over here. Proxy here has to be a DC proxy. Most residential proxies don't work well for the Gmail. All right, and that's if you have multiple Gmails. If you don't have multiple Gmails, then you're just gonna have to stick to having all your solvers on just one. And so basically what this means is that within the drop, every time, let's say you have here tasks set up for Foot Locker, but you also have tasks set up for Foot Action, all the other sites as well. Once a Foot Locker task over here, the status says waiting for CAPTCHA, you're gonna have to go and jump to the Foot Locker. But this is Foot Locker Canada that I have over here. But you actually want to go to Foot Locker, and you're gonna want to make sure that you actually start solving the CAPTCHA for that, right? And then the Foot Action tasks are also going to be asking you for CAPTCHAs, so you're going to want to go to the Foot Action solver, and you're going to want to solve CAPTCHAs over here. And the reason I suggested having multiple solvers, it just makes it easier to navigate between the different CAPTCHAs. So pretty much this is all that you need to know for setting up for Footsights. One last tip that I would say is you want to make sure that you have great proxies. I can't stress this enough. The proxies are just way more important than anything else out there when it comes to botting. You can even argue that the proxies are even more important than the bot, because if you don't have good proxies, you're not going to be able to cop no matter what bot you have. All right, so you want to make sure that you have the best proxies out there. Now, what is considered the best proxies out there? Well, this is the million-dollar question at the moment. Well, since Footsights have changed their security system, it is not clear at the moment what the best types of proxies are. So it's going to actually take us some time to figure that out. The best advice that I have for you is to make sure that you have proxies and different proxy plans from at least 2 to 3 different providers, maybe even more if possible. Proxies can be costly, and I understand that. And so at least try to have proxies from at least 2 different providers if you can't afford to have more. And try to also have a diverse mix of the different proxy plans. So have some residential plans, have some DC or like data center plans, right? Have some that are ISP proxy plans as well. If you don't understand the difference between all these different plans, feel free to ask us in Discord and we'll go over them together. But besides that, if you need any more information about how to set up for Footsights, then what I suggest you do is go to the site's tips and tricks and go to Footsights setups. Over here, we have all the updated info that you need to know about setting up for Footsights. Now, the next site that we're going to be setting up for is Finish Line and JD Sports. So you're going to want to go to the Task tab, go to Add New, and go to Other. And then once you're on here, you have the option between picking Finish Line and US JD Sports. So I'm going to go for Finish Line. You can leave it as guest. You can select your proxy list. The product ID, the color ID, and the style ID are all provided in the guide. At this moment, we don't have them in the guide, but they are usually posted on the night of the release or a few hours before the release. So you could just go on here, copy, paste all the different information, paste them here. And then for the size for Finish Line, you want to either go for specific sizing or for random sizing. All right, so it's similar to how Footsights is. So it's either you want to go for a size like size 8 or you want to go for random. You can't pick multiple sizing. So I'm just going to keep it as random. The next thing that you have is normal and mobile mode. So for mobile mode, that's going to be the mode that you're going to be using for the majority of your tasks at this moment. However, you can have some normal, also known as desktop mode tasks. You can have like 1 or 2 running as well. Something that you need to know in terms of cookies. Mobile modes currently do not use any cookies, whereas normal modes use cookies. And what we mean by cookies, just pretty much you're going to have to harvest cookies for that. So you're going to have to go to the sensor harvester and harvest cookies. We have different ways that you could do that are explained in the cookie harvester FAQ. I usually suggest that you stick to using method 1 over here, which is Cop Tools. So you could just download it here, watch the video guide as well, and it'll tell you how to harvest cookies for Finish Line. And then once you have the PID, color ID, style ID from the guide, you can go to test profile as well. And then you're going to select the number of tasks that you want and you can click save. You can also do the exact same thing for US JD Sports. It's the exact same way, exact same PID that is used as well. And I can't click save at the moment because I don't have these set, so I'm just going to put random numbers. Do not put these numbers here, these are just random numbers. I'm going to click save. And then for CAPTCHA, you're not going to need any CAPTCHAs at this moment for Finish Line or JD Sports, so you could just run without them. And yeah, as I said, for normal mode tasks, not mobile, you're going to need cookies as well. Some final remarks about Finish Line and JD Sports. At this very moment, Finish Line and JD Sports module within AIOBot is being beta testing. So what we mean by that is it's not in its complete form. You're bound to sort of like get into slight issues. So the best thing that I can suggest you do is, I still suggest you run, right, a couple of tasks. It's just that don't go overboard with that. You can run sort of like 5-10 tasks if you want. No need to go more than that. Focus your other tasks on other sites. And just in case you have any more Finish Line related questions, you can always go to the Finish Line setup tips and just pretty much go over it. Now that we've gone over how to set up for Footsights and for Finish Line and JD Sports, we reached the final site type, which is Shopify. Now I'm going to be doing this part of the video a bit different. Instead of explaining how to go over the different parts of Shopify, what I'm going to suggest you do is you go to the AIOBot Discord. You go to site tips and tricks and you scroll down until you find the video. The video is going to go into deep detail into how you can set up for your task. With regards to what keywords you're going to want to use in your Shopify tasks, so the keywords that you're going to want to use is not going to be mentioned in that general video. So you're going to want to get that from the Discord. So you're going to go to the Air Jordan 1 Dark Mocha release guide. And as you can see here right now, at the time I'm shooting this video, we don't actually have the release instructions up. But once the Shopify release instructions are up, you will find a section that will mention the keywords. So it's similar to this. If we go to this past release that we had over here, you will see that there are keywords such as this. You just copy paste the entire list, and you do the same thing for the negative keywords as well. You just copy and you paste them over here, the keyword and negative keyword. There are going to be certain sites that are going to use an early link, right? So that's sites like such as Kith, Shoe Palace, and Shop Nice Kicks as well. We will also mention these in the guide. So as you can see here in this past guide, we mentioned the early link over here for the Shoe Palace, Shop Nice Kicks, and for Kith, the early link usually just comes before the release. So as you can see here, we posted this just before the release here in 10 minutes. So we tried our best to anyway post them between 10 to 30 minutes before the release. And other than that, everything else is explained in the general Shopify video. Just to go over some quick remarks as well. If you're going to be setting up for a site like Undefeated, right, you're going to notice one error here. So if I go to Undefeated now, it's going to say Undefeated has no accounts recorded in the settings tab. So what that means is that for a site like Undefeated, you must have accounts, right? So if you go here, usually we just select guest, but for Undefeated, you're not going to be allowed to do that unless you actually go here to settings and you go to your site account, and you're going to want to click on add new and just go and select Undefeated. And then you're going to want to add an email and password. Now, how do you get an email and password? Well, you're going to go on the site, undefeated.com, defeated, and you're just going to pretty much go to the login section and create a login details, right? So create an account and just kind of go from there. So once you create accounts, you can add them here. And so one general remark about Undefeated as well, just try to have only one task running per account, right? Don't try to have too many tasks running on the exact same account. So if you want to run 5 tasks for Undefeated, then it's best if you have 5 accounts set up on Undefeated. And now a really important tip that I also have for Shopify, a lot of people tend to struggle with proxies. The proxy situation is such a mess on Shopify, because if you don't have the right types of proxies, you're bound to have issues with the CAPTCHA, which, by the way, I didn't discuss in this video, but you are going to need to have your CAPTCHA solver ready, right? And so if you, for example, go for guest here, a type of issue that a lot of people have with Shopify is that if they don't have the right type of proxy, a lot of times the CAPTCHA may not even pop up, right? So you have here, nothing pops up over here, nothing pops up just in general. And so it just becomes an issue. And so the way you resolve that is either you get a better proxy plan. One way to sort of like go over what is the good proxy plan is to just go to successful setup, right? And you sort of try to find people that have ran on Shopify releases and try to see what kind of proxies they used. You could also check some of our proxy providers, partners, such as Cheatcooked, for example, Oculus, maybe even Leaf as well, some of the others as well. Try to see if they actually support Shopify. And not every proxy plan supports the Shopify sites with bot protection. So all the sites that we mentioned in the guide that require you to run boost mode, these are types of sites that have bot protection on. And so when they have bot protection on, that means that you have to have really good proxies, or the alternative is to not run any proxies at all. So here, instead of selecting your test proxies or whatever you call your proxy list, you can just go ahead and select no proxy list, right? But the only way you could do this is if you're running on your local IP, which means that you're not running on any server or virtual machine or anything, right? That way you can just select no proxy list, and it'll use the IP of your like home or whatever local IP that you're using, right? If all of this sounds a bit confusing, it's okay. Shopify takes a bit of more time to set up compared to other sites. I think that once you actually go over the Shopify setup tips video and go there step by step, you can come back to this video or this part of the video and sort of look at the different elements that we discussed, and then you will get a better understanding, right? And once again, for Shopify, you don't really need to run that many tasks, right? So for example, there's going to be a lot of Shopify sites that are going to be releasing at 10 a.m. EST. And at 10 a.m., you also have the Footsights that are going to be releasing. Majority of your tasks are going to be Footsights tasks. You're going to have like 90-95% of your tasks are going to be what's it called, Footsights. And then you're going to have like 5%, which are going to be, or 5-10%, that could be like Finish Line and JD Sports. And then you could have like 5% as well, even 10% running on Shopify tasks as well. But anyways, if you do have any sort of specific questions about setting up for Shopify, once again, it's very simple. Just go to the Shopify setup tips, go over the different tips that we already have mentioned over here. They're all up to date. Same thing for the video as well. Just go over the video, take your time with it, learn how to set up for Shopify. And of course, you could also refer to once we actually update the Shopify release instructions over here, you can also go over them. It'll have everything that you need to know about the sites that are dropping, what mode to use for each site, what time the sites are dropping, and if you need accounts or any sort of other information for these sites. And the one last remark that I have that will pretty much apply for every single site that you will run, and not even just for this release, but just any site that you're running at any time, always make sure that you have the logs activated over here. And so every task that you're running will have the information about what is going on in that task. It will tell you if it's waiting in the queue, if it's adding the item to the cart, if it needs you to solve any captchas. And whenever you have issues with a particular task, you're going to want to copy paste the task logs that you have here, and you're going to want to go to logs and you're going to want to post them in here, or you send them to support member if you're already talking to a support member. Which brings me to my final point. If you have any questions that are not already discussed in the guides, then you can just pretty much go to general chat and you can ask your question over there, or you could just find me or any member within the Discord, click and just sort of try and ask any questions that you have, right? I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. I do get a flood of DMs just before the releases, so I may not be able to get back to you in a timely manner, but I'll try my best to get to you as soon as I can. But other than that, I really hope you found this video useful. I tried to put in as much information as I could in a single video. And, I know some of the points that I discussed were a bit rushed, but once again, you have all the guides, all the setup tips channels that you could refer to that will talk about all these little details, and just kind of clarify them for you. And anyways, I want to wish all of you the best of luck and let us know how the release goes for you. Good luck.